This is going to be your consistency hack of a lifetime.
What's up, guys? Coach Carissa here. Welcome to our channel. This channel is all about helping real women lose real weight by uncovering the fact that your breakthrough really only lies at the intersection of the actions you take and the beliefs that you hold, which is just our fancy way of saying that you can't only concern yourself with the physical actions you're trying to take, like how you're eating, how you're moving, things like that, but you also need to get a grip on what's going on with you internally so you can stop self-sabotaging, stop falling back to your old habits, and stop having to start over and over and over again. So enjoy this week's lesson and subscribe for more.
If you feel like you're putting in so much work, but other women are getting twice the results, which seems like half the effort, I'd like to propose that this is because some of you guys have more internal work to do than others. Tonight, I want to talk about only internal work. This is not a way of eating. This is not a way of training, not a way of behaving even, which is your habits. This is a way of thinking, a way of believing, and a way of being, which stems from identity. So imagine back to the time when you remember being physically healthy. Maybe for some of you, it was a few years ago. Maybe for some of you, it was a decade ago. Maybe for some of you, it was earlier in your teenage years. And maybe for some of you, you were a baby. You don't ever remember being healthy. But nonetheless, at some point, unhealthy actions to you or you did them yourself. Unhealthy eating, moving less, sleeping less, stressing more, right? We can't become unhealthy unless we do unhealthy things. So some of you guys had an upbringing that set you up for success in this department. Some of you guys had a pretty neutral situation where by the time you began eating and behaving on your own free will, you were just neutral. Some of you guys started off less than zero, right? You had problems before you were able to make those decisions for yourself. But regardless, doing of the unhealthy things was the cause of the physical unhealth that you are experiencing today. But I'd like to propose tonight that where your identity is planted, where it's rooted, that's what brings about the difficulty in getting back to that state of physical health. Meaning, if your identity is still rooted in being a healthy person, like I still identify as a healthy person, even if my body is currently unhealthy, you're going to race back to that identity of health because we as humans race back to what we identify with the most. And if we're still in a state where we're identifying as a healthy person and you've put on a few pounds and you've let off some habits, you're going to be like, oh no, like I'm racing back to this state of health immediately. And in that case, when your identity is still deeply rooted in health, then the behaviors required to get healthy are going to come more naturally. They're going to be easier to be consistent with. You're going to begin to physically change your body back quicker and easier because that consistency is there in day in and day out. When your identity is relocated to an unhealthy version of yourself, as in you stop seeing those actions of eating unhealthy, how you move, how you sleep, how you stress, you stop seeing those actions as disconnected from you, like things you do, and you start adopting them into identity. As in, you don't just, eat poorly or undermove or undersleep or overstress. You actually pull those into your identity. Like maybe you say, I am someone who doesn't eat healthy. I am a sedentary person. Or maybe you brag about how little sleep you get, or maybe you brag about how much you stress, right? If your identity has relocated to a state of being unhealthy as a person, and you identify more with someone who doesn't move a lot and someone who doesn't really go to the gym, and you identify as someone who prefers unhealthy foods, then eating healthy, moving more, sleeping more, stressing less, that's going to come way less naturally. So the consistency is not going to be there. You're going to feel like you're battling against yourself because you kind of are. And it makes it harder. And that difficulty and that inconsistency, that's what makes the change not come as easily. Even if you feel like you're doing all the things. Because you might feel like you're doing all the things, but you're either trying to do all the things and experiencing inconsistency, or you're self-sabotaging where it really matters. And it's an internal state of identity. That's the problem. So what you just saw basically is you go from identifying as a healthy person who acts healthy because they identify as as a healthy person. You act in accordance with what you identify with, right? Healthy people do healthy things, and because they do healthy things consistently, they are physically healthy. When you begin acting unhealthy, you physically become unhealthy. And you have a path right here where some people panic at this moment and race right back to doing healthy things. And some people take that a step deeper because of self-worth, circumstance, identity, like beliefs. You take that a step deeper and start to identify as a healthy person. And the longer you live there, the harder it is to get out of that home and make a new home back in health. So the ultimate question here, how do you get back to health, right? Slowly, gently, and lovingly, you need to undo the becoming that you've become. As I said, you've become an unhealthy person as an identity, and you need to slowly unpack that, which takes work, uprooting the unhealthy thoughts and the labels and the belief patterns and the identities that you've been repeating to yourself for however long. That way you can regain your ability to be consistent. At the end of the day, consistency is harder for the person who has more internal work. But the difficulty with consistency is just a symptom. Okay. It's not the problem. You don't need a consistency hack. You don't need a motivation hack. We need to work on ourselves internally and change our home back to that of a healthy identity. So when we ask the question why some people have an easier time losing weight, it's because they have an easier time eating healthy, working out regularly, pushing themselves in those departments, digging those wells deeper and deeper and deeper, nurturing those habits reliably, taking them deeper and deeper and deeper. And then they become healthy and lean on the outside easier and quicker because their internal home was closer. Their internal transformation was already closer to that healthy internal and external alignment than someone who's simply farther away. So if you're farther away and it feels harder, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not missing any magic pill. There's nothing wrong with your body. You just have more work on the inside to make that internal transformation take place first. And once you start working on that, the external actions will come much easier, much more consistently. And that physical transformation is the next step. It's just the byproduct. So this, like I said, the solution is not motivation and consistency hacks. The solution is more internal work. If your time's harder than another, you just have more work to do internally, and that's okay. And I would argue you want to do that work, because if you don't, everything you do, right, forcing yourself to eat a certain way, that's not in alignment with your current identity of being unhealthy. Forcing yourself to show up at the gym, which is not in alignment with your current way of preferring to move less, maybe. Whatever, you guys know yourselves, right? The things that are fighting against you and the things that you're feeling resistance towards are the things that you need to work on internally, because your current identity is not craving the actions of a healthy person. And I know that this work feels intangible, it's invisible, so it's not as fun as checking a box on a physical task. But this is the real work standing between you and that effortless consistency, which brings about that effortless change. The effort's in the work, and it shows up all the time in little bits sprinkled throughout your journey. Okay. When you don't want to go to the gym, you need to ask yourself why. That's an internal piece of work you could take advantage of. when you don't feel like going to bed on time, when you don't feel like eating breakfast. And this is not like, I want to do this, I'm just tired. This is like you're fighting it. If you're fighting it, it's an identity problem. And I don't want your labors and your efforts and your actions to feel tiresome. If you feel like you're on a program your whole life, then it's because your identity is rubbing up against the actions you're trying to take. If you feel like what you're trying to do and who you're trying to become is inauthentic, like I don't want to be, this gym bunny, gym rat, whatever. Like if it's an identity issue, point blank, like you're wearing someone else's identity, like you need to get clear on that. Like you get to be your version of healthy. And it's not going to be the girl at the gym that you see. It's not going to be the influencer online. This is the internal work of visualizing your most healthy self in your most healthy body, in your most healthy lifestyle, doing your most desired hobbies with your family, waking up and practicing those days. How do you want to feel when you wake up? Rested? Do you want to feel proud you went to bed on time? Do you want to feel excited to nourish your body first thing? Like this is the work, and it's sprinkled throughout every single day, every single decision, every single habit, every single choice, and every single thing you choose not to do. Because at the end of the day, consistency is everything. We know that. So if consistency isn't happening, it's just a signal from your current innermost self. Don't hate on her. You made her. Okay, talk to her. Nurture her. Your kids aren't born perfect. You train them, you teach them, you impart wisdom upon them. Okay, do that to yourself. Talk to your current identity, nurture her and lead her into the future you're trying to craft for her. You can give her a name if you want to. If she pops up, be like, Susan, I know you don't want to eat that meal, but I want to eat that meal because we're trying to become this. Like, it can work. So last statement, the only way to permanently change externally is to permanently change internally. So I know that might seem kind of weird right now. Like you're not currently healthy on the outside. So how do you identify? Okay. You're doing the things. You're trying to do the things. You're striving to do the things to be a healthy person. You're on your way. So claim boldly that identity. You're worthy of it. And if saying I'm worthy of being healthy, I'm worthy of exactly who you envision in your mind, say it to the mirror. If that feels uncomfortable, if you have doubts or disbeliefs or yeah, buts or no ways, unpack each and every one of those, because that's the work I'm talking about. That's the resistance. It's those labels you've invited into your life. That's the work. It's the only way to get those invisible demons out of your heart and your mind. And then the habits you're trying to accomplish consistently will become your natural self-expression. We say that all the time, but I really want that to sink in tonight. Healthy people do healthy things. If you become healthy internally by stripping away the strings you've attached to the unhealthy version of yourself, and you reattach those to the healthy version of yourself, you're just going to do those things because it's authentic to who you're trying to be, who you're claiming to be. It's a natural self-expression. And then you'll physically look the part.
Thank you so much for watching. We truly hope you enjoyed that lesson. So every single week we make room for one guest spot on these support calls. So if you'd like the opportunity to attend, ask questions, receive coaching, just hit the link in the description box, or you can head over to gainslinger.com/coach me. Once again, that's Gainslinger, GAINSLINGER.com/coach me, all one word. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you next week.